Hello and welcome to the AI Cloud and Modern Workplace Conference 2024. We are delighted to have you here and hope you enjoy this online event. We have a very exciting agenda for all these 3 days with speakers from different backgrounds and perspectives who will share their insight, experience, and how AI and cloud computing is transforming the way we work and our work life. Before we dive into the next session, let me introduce our very, very special guest. I would like to say that he is an excellent professional with many years of experience and contribution. Recently, he became Microsoft's most valuable professional. He very well deserved this award because he is a man who always willing to help in every action of the tech community here in Greece. He has his co-owner in a channel with a very, very interesting presentation. He will share the insights later with you, which is the name of channel. And the reason that I'm not saying is because I want to keep it secret, the name, before I introduce him. And also, I want to say that he's a mastermind of Microsoft Azure here in Greece, with a deep knowledge in Azure product and services. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the great honor to present you Dimitris Pantazis, Microsoft's most valuable professional in Azure and cloud solution architect, also Microsoft certified trainer. I would like, Dimitri, good morning at first.
Good morning.
I would like to express my immense appreciation that you are here with us today, and you are always here to help us, to support us, to present for us. Great honor and great pleasure to see you, my friend, here in our conference.
Thank you, Costa. Allow me to say that I almost got goosebumps from your introduction, but thank you very much. Thank you, Costa, thank you, George, for inviting me and having me in this great conference, this great effort that you're making in order to support people and technology professionals across the entire world. I believe that you have people coming here from diverse communities and diverse countries. So it's a great impact that you're making. Huge congratulations to you and the effort that you make to bring valuable content to the people without reward. I know that you're doing it just out of your great interest for sharing with the people. So thanks again. Hope next year you will be here as well, and we'll be here to support you. Thank you very much. So after this great introduction, welcome everybody. I'm Dimitris Pantazis. I'm here to give you an idea of how to deal with your infrastructure in Azure using artificial intelligence, right? GitHub Copilot, more specifically. So welcome to my presentation, Revolutionizing Infrastructure, a hands-on guide to GitHub Copilot for infrastructure as code development. Just a few words about me. I'm Dimitris Pantazis. I work as a cloud and automation architect at Unisystems. Also, I spent some time doing technical trainings. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer doing Microsoft courses around Azure mainly. And recently, I was very honored to receive the Microsoft MVP award in the Azure Infrastructure as Code category. So great honor, great to be here also as well with other fellow MVPs and other great people that contribute to the community. If you want to reach out to me, if you want to follow me and my presence online, feel free to find me on LinkedIn, just with my first name, last name. My website is flymetothe.cloud.com. I try to post a few articles here and there. I post some code on GitHub. My name is Dipantaz, and as Kostas said earlier, I am co-host in the Cloud Technology Tuesdays YouTube channel, together with my fellow friend George Marco, who had a great presentation yesterday in this great conference as well. So again, we are here to discuss about artificial intelligence a little bit, how it contributed to the efforts of development, software development activities. And now, since let's say infrastructure is becoming more and more, let's say, code oriented, and even as infrastructure people get more development principles in our in our work. I decided that I should make a presentation on how the infrastructure people can leverage AI techniques in order to make their daily jobs easier in terms of creating infrastructure as code. So we easily admit that artificial intelligence has actually reshaped, has actually revolutionized the way we work. It's here to mainly increase efficiency and collaboration. The artificial intelligence has made a huge impact in various industries, from software development to I don't know, manufacturing. But in any case, here our focus is on software development and on information technology in general, and the focus is always to enhance productivity. With specifically in the software development area, we already have many tools that are here to provide us with smart suggestions. As humans always, tend to have the tendency to do mistakes, and artificial intelligence is probably here to help us eliminate most of those mistakes and try to be efficient, from the very beginning of our work. So the aim here is always to speed up the development processes. Also, automation. Automation is very important because nowadays, with all this huge amount of work that we need to implement and all these tools that we have available, we have a great opportunity to automate repetitive, error-prone tasks. So artificial intelligence can help in this concept with providing ideas and suggestions around how to automate those repetitive tasks. And we'll see exactly, that's why we're here. We'll see later how we can do that and integrate it in our daily jobs. Machine learning, it's all these techniques that we'll be discussing for many months now about how machines and AI models can be trained, in order to be in position to make better recommendations to humans about how they can increase their efficiency, achieve better results. So in general, AI, artificial intelligence, and machine learning are here for good, and they're here to assist developers to explore new possibilities, to experiment with new solutions, possibly spend less time in daily repetitive tasks that probably do not give enough pleasure, let's say, to work with. And also, this way we can offload all these trivial activities, daily activities that usually are not so fun, and actually try to focus a little bit more on experimentation, on identifying new technologies, new techniques to make our work more interesting, and of course, to increase the value of our products and services. Just a moment. So, as promised in the beginning of the presentation, I'm here to discuss about GitHub Copilot. GitHub Copilot is a service offered by GitHub itself, and it's, as the slide says, it's your AI pair programmer. It's not there to, let's say, replace the work that you're doing, not at all, but it's there to assist you in your development efforts by providing recommendations, suggestions, helping you being the buddy next to you who can take care of things that you things that you don't possibly want to deal every day, or in order actually to make your development efforts faster and more efficient. a few of the features, of the key features of GitHub Copilot, you can see on this slide. As we and most of them we are going to explore actually during our hands-on demo. So one very important feature is the autocomplete mode. One is one of most discussed Copilot features, which unlike other typical and traditional autocomplete functions that suggest individual variables or methods, Copilot takes this a step further, and it recommends entire lines or even blocks of code, right? Imagine you will see actually later that I'm going to create a new file and I will just start typing a few letters, right? A few characters. And, with some magic happening behind in the background, we are going to see how we can create in just even seconds, if not, not even minutes sometimes, we are going to create very stable infrastructure as code. So this is particularly useful for repetitive tasks in order to allow developers to focus more on complex aspects of their projects. Multi-language support, of course, GitHub Copilot supports these features on many different languages and frameworks. Maybe somebody might say that it's more oriented, it's more let's say targeted towards software development and languages such as C#, Python, Node.js, etc. But we will see exactly later how well it works with infrastructure as code languages, especially with Terraform, which is going to be the example that we'll use. Contextual understanding, that's very important because it not only it provides you with recommendations from existing code that appears on GitHub, but it can also use the content of the code that you are producing, right, in your integrated development environment, in order to give you more focused, let's say, recommendations, more targeted recommendations based on the content that you actually develop, not just code that exists somewhere on the internet. It tries to analyze what you're actually developing in your Visual Studio Code, let's say, and it tries to provide recommendations, suggestions that are contextually relevant, reducing, therefore, the possibility of errors and actually improving in total the quality of the code that you're producing. Code documentation. The key idea behind this feature is that you can ask GitHub Copilot to create documentation, to create comments actually for your code. Copilot simplifies this process by automatically generate comments and documentation based on the code that it actually helps you to write. This, of course, you can understand that it not only saves time, but it also ensures that your code base remains understandable, that somebody can go there and read it, keeping your code commented. I hope you understand that it's very critical. It's very important in a collaborative environment with many developers. So it is very important to keep comments, and somebody else can go in and read your code, even if sometimes it can be complex. At least you should have comments in your code in order for somebody else to understand it easily. And of course, most of the times, people, we are humans, we tend to forget, we tend to omit such an important let's say operation, giving comments into our code. So GitHub Copilot is there for you in order to save your time and generate the comments for your code. Keep in mind that it's going to use the contextual understanding that we discussed earlier. It's going to read your code and provide relevant comments. And of course, collaborative coding. Copilot is designed to be more than just a coding assistant. It provides features that are created in order to facilitate team-based projects. It creates suggestions that adhere to commonly accepted coding standards and practices, and eventually this makes it a great asset in collaborative environments where, actually, as discussed earlier, consistency is key. It is very important. Now, here, it's very important to say this, that our work needs to be interesting, and eventually our work needs to be fun. I like to have fun when I work, and honestly, using new tools and new techniques to do my work, makes these 8-9 hours that I work during the day much funnier and much more interesting to deal with. So here I wanted to give you some idea of statistics based on some recent research executed by GitHub themselves, that, for example, 85% of developers felt more confident in their code quality when authoring code with GitHub Copilot and GitHub Copilot Chat. So you understand that you gain more confidence into the work that you're doing yourself, and you get more courage to go on and produce more features and more services for your customers, and eventually more value. Code reviews were more actionable and completed 15% faster than without GitHub Copilot Chat. In a team-based project, right? We are many developers, and we want to work in a way that we cooperate efficiently, and and especially this code review process, when somebody creates some code and somebody else needs to read it, review it, and provide comments. The process, apparently, based on the researches, this process became more actionable, more meaningful, and completed even in shorter time than previously without using AI-based development practices. And finally, 88% of developers reported maintaining flow state with GitHub Copilot Chat. This means that actually they felt more focused, less frustrated, as said. I want to have fun when I perform my work. And they enjoyed coding even more than previously. So I just wanted to show you here that what I want to focus is that artificial intelligence is there mainly to assist with our efforts, humans, to assist humans with the efforts in any sort of industry, in any sort of professional, let's say, area. So although there is always this discussion about how AI needs to be regulated, etc. Yes, of course, it has to be, and states need to work more towards this direction. However, especially for our case with developers, we need to explore always new techniques, new technologies, new possibilities, because honestly, we're professionals. So if you do not excel in what you are doing, if you don't want to always explore new possibilities and new capabilities and new tools, probably someone else will be there to be more proficient, more in order to eventually get more work from you. So don't be afraid of artificial intelligence. Please try this stuff. Either on ChatGPT, either, of course, GitHub Copilot, which we'll see how well integrated it is with Visual Studio Code later on, and it will give you the ability to write code, especially infrastructure as code, more efficiently and faster, and you will actually like it eventually. Be sure about it. So just a couple more slides before we go to our demo, just to give you an idea of how GitHub Copilot works in the background. As you type, actually, as we said, we talk about the contextual understanding. As you type code into your Visual Studio Code, GitHub Copilot analyzes its context, and actually it takes care about stuff like where is your cursor at the moment, what is the code that is around your text files, the comments that you create, and it actually uses this context in order to understand what actually you're trying to achieve. Code retrieval is the feature where GitHub Copilot uses its extensive code base of open source projects, and it tries to retrieve relevant code snippets from these repositories. It looks for similar patterns, functions, or code structures that match the context that you provide. Code synthesis. Once there are matches, once GitHub Copilot finds some match for your code, it synthesizes these snippets in order to generate suggestions that fit the current context. This might be multiple snippets, to combine multiple snippets to modify code possibly that you created within your editor, or even create entirely new code based on the what you want to achieve. This is exactly what we're going to see just in a few minutes. Ranking and filtering, eventually, when GitHub Copilot synthesizes, let's say, some suggestion, it ranks them. And ranks them in sort of what is the most preferred and the most relevant recommendation that it should make for you. It checks syntax correctness, popularity of similar code patterns in its repositories, and it just leaves out, it filters out any suggestion that is probably irrelevant or does not make sense to be provided to you. And of course, then the last step is to present these recommendations to you through your IDE, through your editor, Visual Studio Code, as we'll probably use later. And it's going to be in the form of auto-completion or some suggestions. Also, eventually the developer, you can review those suggestions and choose the one that fits better your requirements. Keep in mind that you might get more than one suggestions. You will have the ability to scroll, let's say, through the suggestions and pick the one that you believe is more relevant to what you want to achieve. Keep in mind also that there is also something that probably missing from my presentation. There is GitHub Copilot chat. You know, it's like having something like ChatGPT inside your Visual Studio Code, inside your editor, and you can have interactive discussions with it. You can make questions and you can get answers with full explanation. And this is exactly what I will try to demonstrate in a few minutes. So GitHub Copilot, somebody might expect that it's usually there to help with help developers, software developers. But since infrastructure is more and more handled as code, you can see here some examples like Terraform and Bicep. Now is the time for us, the infrastructure guys, to take advantage of these AI techniques. If you like writing infrastructure as code, feel free to enable GitHub Copilot. You can start with a free trial for 1 month, if I'm not mistaken. And after that, if you want to continue, you are going to pay something like 10 euros per month. GitHub Copilot works well with infrastructure as code tools, because keep in mind that the heart of these techniques is the code that already exists in GitHub. So as long as GitHub is more and more enriched with Terraform or Bicep or in general infrastructure as code content, you will be getting more targeted recommendations. Now, enough with the talking. I hope you enjoyed my slides. I'm going to move into a very short demo, just to give you a first idea of how GitHub Copilot looks like for infrastructure as code, and hopefully to give you the opportunity to test it yourselves. It's free, at least for 1 month, and then you can decide if you want to keep it or not, or even ask your employer to fund it. In any case, I'm going to be using the Visual Studio Code. I have a GitHub Copilot subscription already enabled. It's something that you create in, you can enable on GitHub itself. You go just into your account, into the settings of your account, and you enable the free trial. And then, of course, if you want to extend the trial to a paid period, you just need to provide your credit card. I also be using the GitHub Copilot extension on Visual Studio Code, and I'm going to be writing some Terraform code, especially for Azure cloud deployments. So let me move on to my demo. So you can see here, this is Visual Studio Code. I'm pretty sure that most of you know about it. If not, just Google it. Visual Studio Code is the free editor provided by Microsoft. And here, I will just want to show you the extensions that I have. If you search for Copilot, you will see that I have 2 extensions, GitHub Copilot and GitHub Copilot Chat. Right? Of course, feel free to add your extensions such as Terraform, Azure, Bicep, whatever you want. All together is going to, all the tools together will try to make your coding experience much more efficient and much more fun. So let's see. Let's try to start. Let's start to do the first things. I have here a modules folder. This is a module that I have created, a Terraform module that I have created in the past, but I will save this for later because this is something that I want to show you regarding an existing module. Let me try to create something from scratch. I have an empty folder here. I just happen to call it simple config. I'm going to create a new file. And typically with Terraform, I'm going to call it main.tf. So you can see already, I have a recommendation to press Ctrl-I to ask GitHub Copilot chat to do something. Just before I move there, I wanted to just remember that I want to show you just on the bottom right here, this menu of Visual Studio Code. I have the GitHub Copilot icon. This one gets to this, let's say, status. Is there actually to show you the connection with GitHub Copilot all the time. And keep in mind that the first time that you are going to use GitHub Copilot on your Visual Studio Code and you install the extension, right after that, in order to start using it, you will be asked to log in to your GitHub account through the extension and through the Visual Studio Code window, so that Visual Studio Code, of course, can ensure that you have a subscription enabled and that you are entitled to receive AI-based recommendations. So I'm going to press Ctrl-I here just to see what happens. Here I get an inline chat prompt in order to start a discussion if I want with GitHub Copilot. I'm going to show you how to interact with GitHub Copilot chat in just a few minutes. I will just first start with a typical Terraform flow. Every time I write a Terraform configuration, I need to start with, let's say, some very standard lines. For example, I need to start with a Terraform block. So I just typed Terraform. I pressed, let me show you again. I type Terra, just this. I press, this is IntelliSense that you see here. It's a feature natively provided by VS Code and the Terraform extension. GitHub Copilot is not yet into the equation. When I press tab, these characters with the gray color that you see here, this is a GitHub Copilot recommendation already. So now I have already 5 to 6 lines that I should have typed. I should type by myself previously. Now I can just press tab, and the code is already added into my editor. However, my target cloud is Azure. And you can probably see here that the provider that Terraform is going to use, the initial suggestion at least, is AWS. So I can remove possibly these 2 lines, even the line 3 as well, because it's not right. And go and say, sorry for that, Azure name. Let me see. Sorry. Let's go again. I don't remember what I'm doing. Honestly, sometimes I always forget this one. And it's very easy to start like this.
Dimitri, sorry if I interrupt you. Is it possible to zoom in because we need to see the code?
Yeah. There you are.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So I obviously forgot what I'm doing. I'm not very familiar with these lines that I need here. I'm going to make a comment like this. Create a Terraform block for Azure RM provider. This one I keep it, okay? This is the extra lines that I need, but I need something else here. I need the Terraform block to start. And now you can see the difference. When I first started my file and I typed Terraform, I got a suggestion to deploy to AWS, but I'm working with Azure, so I want the right lines to be there so that I can target the Azure cloud. Now you can see that the suggestion that I receive is Azure RM. So the provider that I'm going to use, and I press tab here to add it into my code. Now I'm correctly targeting the Azure cloud. So here we already saw 2 features. One is about the code that is generated based on comments, and also the contextual understanding. Now, GitHub Copilot understood better that I am focusing on Azure and not AWS, just because I had already added these 3 lines here. So whenever I want to create something on with Terraform on Azure, I always, if I want to define a resource, I always start with the word resource. You already see here something that comes from GitHub Copilot, and this is a suggestion for a comment. Create a resource block for Azure RM resource group. This is the beginning of everything. You cannot start with anything on Azure unless you have a resource group in place. So I will press tab to accept this comment. I press enter, and now I get a recommendation to type the resource group code. I just accept it, right? I might need to change the name. I don't really like it. I'm just gonna say it RG1, whatever. And the location, it's East US. You can change it to West Europe, whatever you want. Now, let's say that, okay, typically what I have in mind is to create a virtual machine. Another comment here, create a resource block for Azure RM virtual network. You can see how easily, without even just thinking, looks weird. So this is the code for my virtual network. I'm going to type a CIDR block. And then I just press tab and enter. You see all these are suggestions coming from GitHub Copilot. Create a resource block for a subnet. Yes, I want this one as well. Come on, I don't want to write. Just give it to me. 10.0.0/24. It can also guess what is the subnet mask that I want to use. I need a network interface for my VM, and especially let's try something. Create a network interface card with a static private IP address. This is the recommendation, the private IP address, the one. I just press tab to accept the common recommendation and I press enter. And out of magic, I have here a suggestion. You see, now I have specific code where the private IP address allocation property is already set to static. And I'm going to provide the private IP address for my subnet 10.0.0.4. Keep in mind that Azure always reserves the first few IP addresses, like from 0 to 3, and of course the last one 255. Press enter. Enter and tab, and just it creates the curly brackets for me. Let's say that I don't want to create a public IP address. I want to create a Windows virtual machine. What else? What can we? Something before that. Let's create a network security group with a rule that allows inbound traffic on port, whatever. Yeah, the initial suggestion was 80. I'm going to say 443. Here it is. Isn't it magic, actually, right? But, typically you would go through the documentation many times to find this code, but now you get it in just seconds. And now I'm going to create also the virtual machine. A Windows, let's say, Server 2022 virtual machine with a data disk of 256 gigabytes. Let's see. Can you see this? This is GitHub Copilot. Nothing that I have saved already on my computer. So here we have already, I press tab and I accept it. Probably there's some mistakes. GitHub Copilot does mistakes. Please take that for granted. Too few blocks. Let's see, there are some errors here. Let's see if we can fix them. The OS disk block is probably missing. Admin password not specified, admin username not specified. Let's see if we can fix something like this. Copilot. I just right click onto my code, I go to Copilot and I can say fix this. It uses the error the text and tries to provide a recommendation. To solve the problems, I would add the missing attributes and blocks to the Azure RM Windows virtual machine. I'm going to accept it to see what happens. I still have problems, however. The OS disk probably has, where is the OS disk? Is it there? Apparently, I think this is a mistake. If I remember, this is not storage OS disk. Now, admin password not specified. I think this is all admin profile. Let's see if we can fix it. Still not able to fix it. Apparently, you can see that probably I made it a little bit difficult for him. So I will try another comment. Keep in mind that the prompts that you create are very important. If you are very specific, the more specific you are, the more are the chances that you can get more tailored recommendation. I will try something more simple for him. Still has the same issues. Let's try to remove something to see if he can make it. Create a Windows virtual machine. Apparently, the too few blocks were specified for OS disk. Or at least one blocks are expected for OS disk. Apparently, he cannot understand. Let me go slowly. Name. VM1. Resource group. Location. You can see it automatically retrieves the locations from the above, from what I defined earlier in the resource group. The size, admin username. You can even go like this to go line by line. Right? Now, here's the right suggestion. Finally, when sometimes you can expect that it's not working very well. So you have to find the right way to make the right questions or to find the right way to use it. Now I finally got the right block, the OS disk block. If I go enter, source image reference, this is the Windows that I want. It suggests 2019. Now I can even go on with more resources. I can get a suggestion to create a public IP, a load balancer, etc. But maybe that would be enough for now. So I'm going to save this. And maybe what I can do, I can go now. Let's have if I can have guys like 5-6 more minutes. I will go to GitHub Copilot chat to make some questions. This is apparently a Terraform configuration that will allow me to deploy a virtual machine. What if I want to reuse this Terraform configuration multiple times and in order to actually create multiple virtual machines with just different parameters, right? Like a module. You know, typically in the software development, we have the idea of modules where we can create a package, let's say, of existing code or configurations, and we can call these configurations multiple times with different parameters in order to get consistent deployments. So I'm going to ask a question here. I'm going to say, please tell me how I can convert Terraform configuration to a module. It's thinking. And I get full text here. Converting a Terraform configuration to a module involves moving a configuration into a separate directory and making it reusable. So you can see here that I get instructions on what to do on my computer in order to get the result that I want to achieve. You see, it's, very comprehensive text with examples, so I can follow in order to do what I want to achieve. In short, what I need to do is to create a new directory for my module, move the Terraform files into the new directory, define the variables in the module so that I can provide different values all the time, define outputs, and then eventually call the module into my main configuration. Last probably instruction is to always remember to run Terraform init, Terraform plan, and Terraform apply in order to deploy configuration. So if we can take 2 or 3 more minutes to actually try to follow the recommendations. Is inside this modules folder, I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call it Windows VM. This probably might be the name of my module. So I'm going to move my main.tf file into the folder as already recommended by GitHub Copilot chat. I moved it. I know that I don't need these lines there, so I'm going to remove it because I know already in the module I don't define this. I usually define in the configuration file that calls the module, so I'm going to use it later. Yes. Let me remove also the comment that I don't need. Okay, I'm saving this, and now this is my module. What I'm missing here probably is the variables. I'm going to create, as instructed by GitHub Copilot chat, a new file called variables.tf. And here I might write a comment, create a Terraform variable. So keep in mind that my module file is open in my editor. This, when you have all the files open in your editor, GitHub Copilot can read your already open files and provide better recommendations. So if you want to correlate text between different files, don't forget to keep them open in your editor. So create a Terraform variable. Let me press enter again. So here I already get a recommendation to create a location variable. I press tab to accept it. Enter. Next. What can the resource group name? Default is RG1, just like the one that I already typed into my configuration. Variable VNet name. Variable subnet name. I like it. Private IP address. Yes, I want to have it. Then .0.0.4. Variable NSG name. I want the VM name. I don't want the NSG name probably. Let's see if I can go and say VM name. It already suggested. It already understood that I want to define the VM name. Probably this might be enough for now. I'm going to save this variable file. Let me see if I can do this. I'm going to choose all the code. Maybe this might be the last thing that we show, and start inline chat. I'm going to be very optimistic here. Let's see if it's going to work. Convert static values with variables. Let's try it. Honestly, yesterday it worked. Hope it's going to work today as well. Response has been prepared. Please be patient. Let's see. Did it work? No, looks like it didn't work. Let me see if I can go slowly. I'm going to select probably this one to see if I can get the name of the resource group from the variable. Use a variable for this property. Almost, I would say. I'm going to accept this, but keep in mind that the variable, we already defined it in the other file, so I don't need this block. And also these lines are extra. It's something that it managed to fix. But you can see that line 3, we got already what we want. So it's all about eventually making the right questions and actually making the right questions in the right context. Keep in mind that in order to get recommendations for specific code, you need to highlight it, right click, go to Copilot, and possibly you can do like explain this let's say that you are not very familiar with Terraform. It's the first time that you see this code. You want somebody to explain to you what it does. I just chose the VNet code and I go to Copilot and I go explain this. This Terraform code is creating a virtual network in Azure. The resource block is used to define a resource that is to be created. The resource type is VNet. The VNet following the resource type is the local name, etc., etc. You know, you can have a rich explanation of what this part of code is going to achieve. I don't know. I think that's
Dimitri,
pretty.
We
yes.
have a question from the audience.
Yes.
Is there any way to save this script somewhere on Azure to reuse it again in the future?
This script, if probably we are referring to the configuration that we write here, yes, typically you should be using Git repositories to store your code. You can use either Azure DevOps, the Azure DevOps service, which is free for a few users, and also GitHub is also an alternative. So feel free to install all the Git necessary tools on your computer. Also feel free to create either an Azure DevOps or a GitHub account, and then of course, you can do like this. You can see here, publish to GitHub. If you press this button and you authenticate to GitHub, you have the chance to create a new repository and start storing your code in a GitHub repository, which can either be public or even private, so that nobody can access unless you authorize them. Anything else?
No, I can see another one question.
Okay. Can wait one more minute if you want. What do you think, Costa? Do you want to start using now GitHub Copilot?
Definitely, definitely, because I think I send messages with George now. We exchange messages, and I told him, we will lose our job with the Copilot.
Like I said during my presentation, I don't feel like this is going to happen. I feel that all these technologies are here to help our work to be, as I said, more efficient, but eventually funnier. I mean, the first time that I tried, I said, oh my God, I want more for this. I want to my colleagues to be using it. Imagine that if we can run code so efficiently and so fast, how much productivity can enhance. Honestly, yes. I'm very optimistic for this, and there are tremendous opportunities.
I saw your presentation. Let me tell you that it was amazing, but it's an amazing tool because you help you to create something very quick. You can have an online consultant, because all we are writing code at any different situation. We need to exchange windows, to find information, to find the syntax, how we can syntax something. I think that it is a great tool.
And if you allow me, an online consultant who will always be there for you, assuming that you have internet connectivity, and will not complain, will not ask you, he will not have a bad day. He will always be there to help.
So, Dimitri, thank you so much. You honored us with your presence at our conference. I hope to see you in person, in a conference in person, and I hope next year to do it in person. Thank you once again. We have to move quickly to the next slot.
Thanks for having me. Congratulations for this great effort that you're doing. You have amazing impact into the community. All the best. Keep up with the great work, and we're here to help anytime.
Thank you, Dimitri. Thank you.
Keep up. Enjoy. Bye. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.